You are listening to Feast Like Odin. I really hope I don't wind up with egg on my face, but it looks like this is going to be our third episode. I'm Will, and I'm here with Jeff.
LOL.
Jeff, our topic today is going to be the animated film currently on HBO Max, Justice League Dark. This was actually one that you suggested.
Yeah,
Uh, right? So basically, people um, well, our plan here was to get to the Swamp Thing cameo, more or less in Justice League Dark, and get into Seaweed Salad, right?
yes, absolutely.
So here is this second. There are people in comics who are way more well versed in Swamp Thing than I am. Truly, that being said, we all are, as far as I know, a lot of us have heard the news that a company called Patagonia has earmarked $100 million towards fighting climate change. I know if I had $100 million, that it would help me. It would help me out.
Yeah,
So, um, so hopefully that'll do something. $100 million in the fight against climate change. It's not everything, and we waited too long, but it's just an incredible gesture. And
yeah, yeah. I'd
and
love to see
yeah,
more in that vein. Honestly, I mean, I am full disclosure. I guess I was raised by a dyed in the wool hippie. My mother is a to this day an amazing tree hugger, and I love her. So there's some of
Jeff is
that in
wearing a
for me.
Hawaiian shirt. Jeff is
Yeah,
wearing a Hawaiian shirt over a
and tie
tie
dye.
dye shirt.
Yeah, I don't really
That's
think.
gonna be
Yeah.
video. That's
Oh
gonna be
yeah.
video. Yes. Right.
Yeah, this is not an uncommon casual wear for me either. You will see me wearing Hawaiian shirts pretty much year round. Love the tie dye. Love vibrant colors. And again, a lot of that does come
Yes.
from just kind of growing up in that vein of like, hey, take care of the world that takes care of you. And I am constantly saddened by how long we as a society have waited to try and fix some of our missteps. But
Right.
you're right. I mean, despair like that doesn't serve any good. What we need is to move forward boldly and hopefully to see more gestures like this. I mean, 100,000 is not nothing, and it's not going to solve all the world's problems for sure. But if more people and more specifically more companies care
Yeah.
like that to do stuff like that, I think that's the way we're going to see some really meaningful change, and I love to see it. I really do.
Also, I have to admit, there are hardcore environmentalists going back to at least the 70s and the 80s, Um, and I hope they get their due and their respect, for starting before many of us, and for
Yeah,
keeping
keeping the
for
fight.
keeping the fight going.
Yeah,
Because I bought a notebook and tried to fight for environment. Like I tried to, like, find some facts and see what I could do, and I do have some stories, and I've read some interesting literature, you know. And I've even, found literature where people are like, yeah, I used to fight for the climate and I gave up because it was too hard, like, and so um
that's
so
something that I
hopefully,
don't think gets a lot of it gets enough attention. This kind of
yeah,
like hardcore real activism, real like trying to affect real and meaningful change. It's difficult. It really does take a lot out of you. I people
I'm just looking for a comic book under my desk, Jeff. So
Yeah,
please keep
totally.
going. Yeah.
Totally. No, I mean, if people look at, hardcore activists, people who are really trying to make a change, and then they'll see, one of them take a vacation or something, and they're like, "Oh, you don't really care." It's like, no, it is exhausting to fight constantly, especially against a
Yes.
society that doesn't really care about your plight by and large. You see so much resistance. Like people need to recharge. So let him take that 15-minute, break. Let him enjoy life, and don't be, I don't know. It always rubs me the wrong way when someone's like, "Oh, they're
Right.
not a real, this person's not really in it for
Uh,
the change because they decided to take some time to themselves." Like, you burn out like when you do anything like that, and
I
I
think
think
it's
it's important
yeah.
for people to recharge their batteries.
Well, and the times when I would read a really great essay, about you know humans killing the planet and stuff like that, I'd be incensed, I'd be in fact I found out about a lot of sort of great environmentalists from the past and currently when I was living in New York City, you know, trying to do the acting thing, it's just like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna fight for climate change while I ride a subway like literally every day, and I mean, oh gosh,
No,
yeah, so
it's tough to quantify, and it's tough to justify some things like that. But I mean, again, in the idea being there, at least you were on the subway and not, you know, driving around in a taxi, or God
yeah, I
forbid, driving
mean,
your own car in New York City. God help you. Uh, um, it's those little steps, and a lot of it. The more that I look into stuff like that, the harder it is for me to say, yes,
mhm,
the public will fix this, because we can do all that we want, and all that we can. Every individual citizen could reduce to 0% emissions, right? And it
right.
still would not stop the degradation of the planet. Like, there are way too
That's too
many.
real for me,
Uh,
Jeff. Let's
I
move on.
That's fair. We're not trying to get political here. We're not trying to get political here. But yeah, I have a
What
deep
we're
love
really
for all
trying to
things
talk
green.
about is seaweed salad.
We are trying to talk about seaweed salad.
So, uh, no, Jeff, I'm joking around. Your opinion is truly great and valid, and uh, man, you're you're a cool so and so, Jeff. Yeah, like
I got
we're
something in my soul, that's for sure.
definitely. All
But
right,
yes, seaweed
we
salad.
might yeah, we might be running up the time here, but we'll come back. We'll do more Swamp Thing, do more
Absolutely.
Constantine,
I,
etc.
I'm
So,
more than happy to look into both those characters, either and or both, and feature like a whole episode on either of them. Like, honestly, I
right
do love
on.
Swamp Thing. I just, like you said, I'm not an aficionado. I don't know nearly enough about the character, and especially after watching Justice League Dark, I'm like, wow, I really should know more about Swamp Thing, because he is a really cool character.
Big time. And we can, maybe should, and I if we should, then we will. We'll do 90-minute talks about the environment.
Yeah.
And you know,
Don't get
for
me started.
for now we will it's
We'll
Saturday
table
morning.
that. Yeah, yeah.
It's a
It's Saturday
Saturday
morning. We
morning
want everybody
release.
to feel good and vibe right. I get that.
Well, so part of Swamp Thing's participation in the movie is, hating, humanity, as always, and ultimately Swamp Thing helps out, and there's some really poignant moments, um, sort of revealing his ties to humanity ultimately, right? I mean,
Right.
um, in the comics, right? So I do not have many Swamp Thing books, um, but I just so happen to have an issue by Rick Veitch. Um, and people, I gotta go back for some artist names, and maybe we'll just do a video where I just shout out different artists. The writer was Rick Veitch. Um, I can't find the comic. I found all these comic books under my desk just now. I found Firestorm. I found uh, an issue called Batman Reptilian. I found there's a from Valiant Comics Turok Dinosaur Hunter. I mean,
Nice.
so much
Basically
stuff.
everything except Swamp Thing. Nice.
I have a Lisa Simpson's comic book from Bongo Comics,
Oh,
which is
that's
a
amazing.
whole other thing. So
Talk about nostalgia with The Simpsons, huh?
big time, big
But
time. Um okay. All right, let's do it anyway. So the Rick Veitch comic book that I have, Rick Veitch followed Alan Moore's classic run. As far as I know, there could have been, someone who did a stellar year between Alan Moore and Rick Veitch, et cetera, et cetera. Like
yeah,
I'm trying, folks. I'm trying. So anyway, Rick Veitch did a Constantine cameo, right? Constantine comes out to the swamp, finds Swamp Thing somehow. He's not making it easy at this point. Um, you know, and Constantine tries to basically recruit the Swamp Thing for what it was probably some version of Justice League Dark, right? And and
very
Swamp
cool.
and Swamp Thing straight up says no, right? And 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 this is actually one of the only scenes so far that I've seen Constantine actually get flustered, and try to actually appeal to someone else's humanity,
Yeah,
rather than be ambivalent, One of the things Constantine says is, you have a strength that rivals Superman's, which I thought was very cool to sort of give Swamp Thing that power,
yeah,
to be as strong as Superman and to be sort of tied in with the earth the way that he is, that he could technically defeat the Kryptonian,
yeah.
guy from space. Yeah, so powered by the sun, pretty neat.
Well,
Um,
I mean, if there's something to that, and that's very clever. Will, I gotta say, I don't know if you did that on purpose, but
cheers.
powered by the sun. Swamp Thing
Oh,
being a plant
ha ha
is
ha
also
ha
powered by the sun
ha
in a
ha.
way, and that's just such a wonderful through line. There might be something to that kind of connection.
Absolutely. And so we've got a scurry here. We got to try and do some
Totally.
seaweed salad shout outs. Goals is to have a sweater with some sort of name that I've come up with across it, So shout out to Hudson Valley Brewery. Jeff, do you know anything about seaweed salad? Have
So
you
I do know a little bit. I will say I don't eat nearly enough seaweed salad because it's very tasty. Um, in a lot of cases, I have some recipes up here in my old noggin that are riffs on others, but I do have a single recipe for seaweed salad that I think is pretty tasty.
get out? All right. You have validated
So
our
I'm
longer
more than
timestamp,
happy
sir.
to share that
Let's do
with
it.
our
Let's do it.
listeners. Excellent, excellent. So I will try to go through this pretty quick. Seaweed salad is very simple, so that's another
Nice.
really big draw. Like if you're just like, oh, I need something green, something briny, something really, really, rich that I can stick my teeth into. It's great. It's quick. It's easy. So you're going to want about 2 cups of seaweed itself,
Nice.
and you can get
Nice.
it fresh, dried. I almost recommend dried because then you don't have to really, in my opinion, you don't have to add salt to it because seaweed is so like naturally brined as it is, and you can just rehydrate it. You toss it in the water for a minute, and it'll reconstitute into the you know crunchier the actual body of a plant rather than like a dried seaweed jerky.
Wow.
But you're going to want about 2 cups of that after it's rehydrated. If you get a
Wow.
little more, that's not too bad either. I like to use rice vinegar with
Nice.
my seaweed
Nice.
salad. So I toss about a tablespoon or two in there and toss it up, and I'll get 2 teaspoons of sesame oil. You really don't. A little bit goes a long way when it comes to sesame oil. It's not necessarily a strong flavor, but it does come through. So you really only need a little bit. I would do 1 to 2 teaspoons of sesame oil. Again, I would personally skip the salt just because there's a lot of natural salt in seaweed, but you can salt, pepper to taste. And I do a very tiny pinch of sugar. Um, And the reason for
Cool.
that is that
Cool.
that
Yeah.
kind of sweet and salty, the sugar and salt will bring out a lot in each other.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
outside of like you're not. Don't worry too much about pinching like I don't know a quarter teaspoon of sugar into this thing,
Cool.
uh,
Cool. Good
because
to know.
it's not going to be like candied. It's just going to cultivate a lot of those flavors.
I
And
hear that.
so
If you hadn't
to
said that, I would have just been like,
right, yeah, it's not gonna. Again, all a lot of that is just to personal flavor. Like if you like the way it is without sugar, yeah, go for it. And then the last thing that I would do, you toss this all together so that it's the seaweed is nice and coated in all of these juices.
cool.
Plate it out, and I would garnish personally with both sesame seeds and red pepper flakes. I full disclosure,
Sesame
I am a
seeds, red pepper flakes.
yeah. Personally, I am a fiend for spice, so that's why the red pepper flakes find their way in there. You could skip them if you're a little sensitive to it, but I think that's the big riff for me on the seaweed salad. I don't see like added spice in it all that much, so I really like the addition of just a little bit of red pepper. It's we're not talking like cayenne or ghost pepper or anything crazy. Just a little bit of a kick to it. I find very pleasant.
There you go, folks. Another slugger recipe from Jeff Leiden. Man, that is quite a mind you have, sir. So, by the way, people, we don't mind hanging out longer. We just have to, we got to figure out our merch. We got to figure out some cool stuff that people might be into. And if you are so kind as to support the podcast, we can, we really can do more fun stuff. I mean, there's a there are a few video projects waiting in the wings that we would love to get to, and with your support as it's available. I know times they are a changing, but but you know we're here to hang out and rep a solid Saturday breakfast. We're here to rep you know the time